Jump, Jackson! Jump!
Drowning has been the leading cause of death in toddlers for decades, with little to no statistical improvement, despite the efforts from thousands of humanitarians and volunteers involved in nonprofit and government-aided agencies. Why is that? Most parents who experience the loss of a child to drowning say, "I didn't know." In this presentation, we will discuss our stories of loss. We will present the science behind how children think and learn and how they grow to support our theory. We will then talk about what we believe to be contributing factors that lead to these types of drownings, as well as their solutions.
My name is Christy Brown, and I am from Houston, Texas. I'm a certified special education teacher, executive director of Judah Brown Project, Judah's mom of 2 other biological children, and 4 stepchildren. I lost my son Judah to drowning in 2016. JBP provides education, survival swimming scholarships, a bereavement program, and advocacy locally in Texas and in the broader U.S.
And my name is Jenny Bennett. I am also from the Houston area. I'm a certified emergency room nurse and mother of 4 children. I lost my son Jackson to drowning in 2016 as well. I am now the president of the nonprofit Swim Safe Forever. We provide financial aid scholarships for survival swim lessons and drowning prevention education through our national project, Parents Preventing Childhood Drowning.
Judah was a happy, lively, energetic, and curious boy. He wanted to know everything about everything, always. His exuberance was contagious, and he had a way of getting everyone around him to join in his enthusiasm, no matter where he was or what he was doing. He absolutely loved exploring life. Judah adored water. He would splash in every puddle he could find. He would gravitate to water wherever he could find it. He was a water baby. Knowing this, we got him into swim lessons early. The only lessons we were aware of at his age were Mommy and me, so we took him to our local classes. There he learned that water is fun, water is safe, we can play in the water and sing songs and be with our friends there. What he did not learn there was how to survive in the water. Because I so badly wanted to keep my baby boy safe around the water, we did not go anywhere without his puddle jumper. I put it on him every time he went to the water, whether we were in the pool, at a lake, or at the ocean. As far as I knew, it would keep him safe, and the bonus was that the advertising that came with the device said that it was U.S. Coast Guard approved as a learn-to-swim aid. I thought I was doing what was right for my baby boy. On September 24th, 2016, my family and I went to visit some friends at their apartment pool, where we were going to have a barbecue and the kids were going to swim. All the kids got in the water, including Judah. He had his puddle jumper on, which I put on him whenever he would go into water, just to make sure he was safer around the water. I didn't know at that time that that device would actually contribute to his drowning. So Judah was in the water with his friends and his siblings, and he got tired about half an hour or so into the swim. He got himself out of the pool and he went to his daddy and he asked him for something to drink and a towel. His dad gave him a bottle of water and then sent him to me because I had his towel with me. And I tried to put it on him around his puddle jumper, but it wouldn't fit with the puddle jumper on, so I took that off and wrapped him in his towel, and I sat him right next to me. And my friend and I were both poolside watching the kids, so I looked up to check my other children and basically count heads and make sure everyone was still okay. And they were. And then I looked down and he wasn't there. And I panicked and my friend panicked, and we jumped up and started looking around the pool and started calling his name. And I went to a waterfall feature that he had been interested in that day to see if he was there, and he wasn't. So I kept running around the pool, calling his name, didn't hear anything. And then I went to the steps of the pool, and that's where I found him, right off the steps of the pool, face down in the water. So I panicked and screamed, and we got Judah out of the water. And my husband came running, and he started CPR on him. And he and his friend continued CPR until the ambulance came and took over. At the time that we pulled Judah out of the water, he didn't have a heartbeat. And before they took him to the hospital, they were able to get his heartbeat back and then transported him to one of the hospitals here in Houston. He was in the pediatric intensive care unit there, and they gave him about a 30% chance of survival at that time. So at that point, it was just, we had to wait and see what was going to happen, how much damage his brain had from the accident. And we were there for 2 days. Judah went through a total of 4 heart attacks. And the last day, September 26th, around 9:51 p.m., he had his last heart attack, and he passed away. So it was when I was in the hospital with him that I learned all of the things that we're about to teach you now in this training. And we want to bring this to you because I realized that I had done so much to try to find all the resources I could to take care of my kids as best as I could. And through all of that, and through countless pediatrician's appointments, I still hadn't learned anything about water safety. I thought I understood what to do to keep my kids safe around the water, but it turns out I was wrong. And there were a lot of things I didn't know. And so you're about to learn those in this training so that you can take better care of the kids that you take care of, whether that be your siblings or children that you babysit, or maybe even your own children. And I am hopeful that you will take from this the lessons that I learned too late when Judah was already gone.
What do you have, Juju?
Apple.
Apple. Show Daddy. Oh, yum.
Judah died 2 days after we got him to the hospital. It was the first time I heard anything about drowning being the #1 cause of death in his age group. It was the first time I learned that something called survival swim could have saved his life. It was the first time I learned that the puddle jumper I trusted to help me keep him safe may have actually contributed to his drowning. I didn't know any of this until it was too late for my baby boy.
There was something so special about Jackson. Everyone could feel it, but no one could put their finger on it. We just knew he was special. He lit up a room. His smile could turn your whole day around, and he gave the best hugs. Such a happy, easy baby and a busy, smart toddler. We could not wait to see what Jackson would do one day, but we didn't get the chance. Jackson drowned in our backyard pool, July of 2016. Since then, we realized we had made many mistakes, some obvious, but others not so much. The summer of 2013, my family of 4 moved from a small town in Colorado to Houston, and on the bucket list for the perfect house was a backyard pool. We all loved swimming and being in the water. We were so excited to be able to have this luxury. We found a perfect home for our growing family. A year later, we welcomed our son Jackson. With 2 girls and our boy, our family was now complete. The first summer, Jackson couldn't do much in the pool, but we wanted to make sure he felt comfortable and safe in the water. Since we love the pool so much, we wanted him to enjoy it too. He liked being held in the pool and sitting in a baby float. And as you can see, skinny dipping. The winter before his accident, we signed him up for parent-child swimming lessons. These were the same swimming lessons we had taken our daughter Lily, and as far as we knew, these were the only lessons that were available for our 1-year-old. He loved playing with the balls and singing the songs. We encouraged him to jump in from the side of the pool, and we would catch him to work on getting him comfortable with submersion, and he loved it. He was the star of the class. After his lessons finished, we asked his instructor what else we could do with him. She told us there wasn't anything else they could offer him at this age. I settled, not knowing that there were any other types of lessons I could enroll my son. He would have to wait 2 more years for their next level of lessons. Summer came and Jackson joined us for swimming nearly every day. I wanted to keep him safe, so when my husband and I weren't holding him in the pool, we had him wear a puddle jumper. He could stay in the pool happily for hours wearing it, paddling around with his head safely above water. He loved it so much he would hand it to us when he wanted to go swimming. We thought this was the best thing on the market to keep our child safe and help him learn how to swim. We had certainly accomplished our goal of turning Jackson into a water baby. Everyone was in awe of his fearlessness in the water, and we were so proud of him. We encouraged and praised him.
July 9th, everything changed. It was Saturday. That meant my husband worked and I was home with the kids. My husband's truck had broken down and was in the shop, so we had to go pick him up from work. That evening after dinner, I set a plate of food aside for Adam and gathered the kids. We headed to the front door and I threw Jackson on my hip. It was then that I realized that I couldn't remember the last time I'd let the dogs outside to go potty. So I went to the back door with Jackson still with me, and I opened the main door and then unlocked the dog door that was on our screen door, and I left it open for the dogs in case they needed to go outside. Then we went back to the front door and went and picked up Adam from work. When we returned home, I was tired, and I had asked Adam if I could just rest in the bedroom just for a few minutes and unwind before getting the kids ready for bed. I went and laid on the bed and I just scrolled through Facebook, and Adam went to go heat up his food. A few minutes went by and I got an urge to go check on Jackson. I came out my bedroom door and I saw Adam sitting on the couch eating his food, but Jackson wasn't sitting next to him. So I asked, "Where's Jackson?" And he said, "Oh, he went upstairs to go play with his sisters." He could see on the staircase the girls going upstairs, and he thought Jackson was upstairs with him. And this calmed me for a minute, so I went back into the room and just laid on the bed. But I left the door open this time. I could hear the girls playing, but I couldn't hear Jackson. And that's when I got an overwhelming feeling, almost a voice in my head to go find Jackson now. I came back out of the room and I asked again, "Where's Jackson?" And I asked the girls, "Is Jackson upstairs?" And they yelled back, "No." It was at that moment that I had realized that I forgot to close the dog door and close that second door in front of it, covering it. And I immediately took off running towards the back door. I broke the screen door just running through it and found Jackson floating face down in the shallow end of our pool.
He was unresponsive, but he felt warm and his lips looked pink. I had hoped I had found him in time. It had only been a few minutes. I started CPR. My husband followed me outside and called 911. When the paramedics arrived, Jackson regained a pulse, but he still wasn't breathing. He was intubated poolside and then transported to the ER I work at down the street. He was stabilized there and then flown to a children's hospital in Houston. After 4 days of life support and many prayers, he was declared brain dead. 1 week after the accident, he donated his heart, liver, and kidneys, becoming a hero. We knew having a dog door in a pool was dangerous, but we told ourselves, if he can't get through the back door, he can't get to the pool. We kept it securely locked. I remember obsessively double-checking it if I would leave Jackson with a babysitter. We also naively thought we were good parents who would always watch our children. We thought we were doing everything right. Safe sleep, we were facing car seats, covering electrical outlets, and gating our stairs. But we didn't know about drowning prevention. This education never made it to us. We weren't even outside. No one was swimming. He was supposed to be safe inside the house playing with his sisters. Why was I not prepared for this? This video was taken about 48 hours before Jackson drowned. The mistakes are evident. Lack of pool fence, lack of any other barriers preventing him from reaching the pool, having a dog door. But there's more that meets the eye. Did our water baby culture contribute to his drowning? Did we make him feel too comfortable in the water? Did we make him feel safe and that he could jump in it with no harm? We had turned our pool into a playground when statistically it is the most dangerous environment for a toddler to be. And I had no clue, not until after he had drowned. The loss of a child to drowning is viewed by the public as an episode of parental abuse and neglect. Where were the parents? The parents should be in jail.
We thought he was safe upstairs with his sisters.
She was excited to go swimming for the very first time.
Taken to a river for an afternoon of swimming
while playing with children and adults.
He grew up around the water and had a healthy respect for it.
But he snuck away and found the pool on his own.
Jumped in the pool unnoticed.
and the current got her.
Wandered off and found the pool alone.
They got out for the first and the last time while I slept 5 feet away.
Slipped out of an unlocked door and fell into the intercoastal waterway.
Jackson Bennett.
Zane Whitmer.
Carissa,
Lori Ward Sonoda.
Jake Morrison.
Rhea Nicole Harvey.
Jackson and Leighton Canavan.
Removing our dog door would have saved our son.
Quality self-rescue swim lessons could have saved Jake's life.
Having a pool alarm.
wearing a life jacket,
Having a designated water watcher.
Constant supervision would have prevented her from drowning.
Having a self-lodging pool fence around the pool could have saved them.
Minority children are at a higher risk of drowning.
Drowning is silent and happens quickly.
88% of child drownings happen with at least one adult present.
children 9 years old and older are more likely to drown in natural bodies of water.
Drowning happens to other people until you become other people.
It happened to us. It could happen to you.
Who is that?
Give daddy kisses.
Aww.
Oh.
What's today?
So the question we are presenting to you today is our culture of creating water babies contributing to childhood drownings? We believe 100% yes.
Christy and I met in 2018 when I started to become more vocal about Jackson's accident. We discovered that our accidents occurred the same year, just 2 months apart from each other, and both our sons died at the same hospital in the same room.
Neither of us remember any drowning prevention education given to us by our pediatricians or our community.
We recently discovered that Jackson and Judah also shared the same swim instructor at the same swim program, and their lessons were only a few months apart.
And we both discovered our beloved puddle jumpers set up our sons for their fatal accidents.
We have met countless other parents who share similar stories of their young child's love for the water without any swimming competency, and these stories continue to happen over and over again. It's embedded in our culture, what we refer to as the water baby culture.
We want everyone to know the concealed dangers we believe increase toddler-age drownings that we didn't know. But first, let's talk about the science behind our theory.
How does this relate to our stories and the stories of so many other children? Well, let's talk about the science of it. Children learn differently than adults. They process information and the world around them differently. Their body size, head size, lung size are all very different than adults. Our brains are amazing, and we learn how to do activities without any thought involved. And how much information can our brains really intake at any given point in time? This one's for parents, because a lapse in supervision is not a lack of supervision. Science supports that it's inevitable. In behavioral psychology, B.F. Skinner's operant conditioning is well known. He states a behavior that is followed by a pleasant consequence is likely to be repeated. This is called reinforcement. It is a process of learning and behavioral shaping by giving feedback with rewards and praise. Who doesn't like rewards and praise? By praising children for jumping in the pool before they are a competent swimmer will encourage them to continue to jump regardless of parental supervision. This is apparently observed with the water baby culture. We are praising children and giving them positive reinforcement to continue this behavior, but they're too young to understand that this behavior is inappropriate if they are without an adult. They do not understand that there are risks to their behavior. They are only continuing to repeat what they have learned. Banduro's social learning theory states children can learn automatically through observation. So witnessing older siblings and adults jump into the pool can lead a child to think that the water is also a safe place for them to do the same. And Piaget is known for stages of cognitive development. Sensor and motor is the earliest stage for infants and toddlers. They experience the world and learn through their senses and motor movements, through trial and error to learn about the world around them. Water provides sensory stimulation that is unlike any other experience, and many children, especially those on the autism spectrum, will seek the water for this experience. So how do children learn? Psychologist Erik Erikson's stages of development. These first two stages of development tell a very significant story. Trust versus mistrust is the first stage. This is newborn to 18 months. This is when they begin learning about the aspects of the world around them, whether they're safe or not safe. With our own attitudes surrounding water acclimation classes, and flotation devices, we are reinforcing the idea that they can trust being in the water. We are showing them that it's safe and fun by making them comfortable, but in fact, we are making them comfortable in the most dangerous place for them to be. Autonomy versus shame and doubt is the second stage, and this is from 18 months to 3 years. This is when they become more independent in the world, which is directly built on the foundation laid in the first stage. The major question during this stage is, can I do things myself, or am I reliant on the help of others? So, if they have accepted the pool as a safe place for them to be in the first stage, they will try to swim and play autonomously in the pool. They will think that it's okay for them to be there alone and that they can do it themselves. This is a very dangerous stage. which so happens to coincide with the most common age group for childhood drownings. Children are naturally magical thinkers. Their underdeveloped brains are impulsive, leading them to make decisions and act without thought. They do not fear death. They do not believe anything bad will happen to them. And this can lead children to be less cautious of the world around them, causing more accidents, some of which fatal.
Infants and toddlers' heads are much larger with respect to their overall body size than are adults. Therefore, any activity in the water that encourages an infant or toddler to lift his head vertically to breathe is inefficient. Even at 3 years old, swimming with their head up out of the water for more than a few seconds is nearly impossible. We believe that flotation devices such as puddle jumpers reinforce the idea that they can keep their head out of the water 100% of the time while swimming. Again, without the device, they would not be able to maintain this position in the water long enough to be able to save themselves. Children also have significantly smaller lung volumes than adults. It has been found that a toddler less than 30 pounds can drown in as little as 30 seconds. Muscle memory is actually memory in your neurons. Learning to ride a bike is an exercise in episodic memory. You can know how to ride a bike without being able to explain how you're doing it. Learning to do anything physical involves this kind of memory. It feels to us as if the memory is stored in our muscles, as if they're remembering how to perform an action without our really being aware of it. But the reality is that the activity is happening in our brains. The parts of your brain responsible for that movement, mainly the motor cortex, develop stronger connections between neurons that serve as a representation for that motion. And it's these connections that make the memory better and easier to access. People who play stringed instruments, for example, have stored muscle memories related to their left hands, which are pressing on strings in particular patterns to play certain notes. Accordingly, studies show that their motor cortices have unusually large representative areas for their left hands. The same is true when you learn to do anything else physical. Neurons inside your muscles play a strong role too, of course, but the pattern of activity that helps you perform the same action over and over happens inside your brain. Hours spent in the pool wearing a puddle jumper or other flotation device results in children learning to assume a vertical posture in the water. These devices put children vertical in the water and create muscle memory for that position. A vertical posture in the water is a drowning position. Most children under the age of 4 are unable to tread water effectively, which is essentially what they are trying to do in this vertical position. It is not conducive to survival in the water or to learning to swim. Once children who have worn this type of device enroll in swim lessons, instructors have to untrain the muscles from a vertical to a horizontal position. We have spoken about the kids, their stages of development, and how water baby culture and inappropriate use of PFDs can interact with their developmental stages to make drowning more likely to happen. Now let's shift to talking about our ability to keep our kids safer in the water. Before we get to that, we would like you to take this test with us.
Here's your challenge. How many times is the yellow backpack passed? Go. So the yellow backpack was passed 17 times. But how aware were you? Did you notice that our scene moved outside? What about the student who put on a hat and switched books? Or the woman dropping the suspicious package? sometimes it's easy to miss the obvious. Your next challenge? Be aware of your surroundings.
How many of these scene changes did you notice? 1, 2, maybe 3? No one can notice them all. And it's because of something called inattention blindness. The information processing theory in neurology states that for every second that passes, there are 11 million pieces of data that come in through our senses. The human brain can only process and attend to about 40 to 60 of those pieces of data each second. The rest it blocks out and becomes blind to. That means that at any given time, there's a lot going on around us that we just do not notice, no matter how hard we try. When this happens around water, it can mean that a drowning can happen right in front of you and you don't even notice it. Already, drowning is silent and hard to see. There is not much visual or auditory stimuli to draw your attention to what is happening during a drowning. It is because of this that drowning often blends into the busyness of everything else going on around you. More powerful visual and auditory stimuli will hijack your attention in that moment, and then you won't see the drowning happening. To add to this, toddlers are notorious for making use of unsupervised time. Typically, we find them in situations like these, but when water is involved, the difference could be between posting a funny picture or video on TikTok and planning a funeral. In the same amount of time it takes to find innocent trouble, they could wander off and find a source of water alone. It only takes 30 seconds for a child under 30 pounds to drown. Drownings are fast and silent. There's no big splash or cry for help. This is especially true in a pool full of people. Everyone assumes that everyone else is also watching the children, but in reality, no one is. That is why it is so important to designate a water watcher during swimming. Even a diligent parent watching their child can become easily distracted, even with the best intentions, as the theory of inattention blindness suggests. We are human and simply cannot do it all. Over 2/3 of drownings in children ages 1 to 4 occur during a non-swim time, meaning the child is not near or expected to be near water.
Here are the problems we see that need to be addressed to change our culture and prevent childhood drownings. Water acclimation classes, also known as parent-child classes. Puddle jumpers, but more specifically, we're referring to any flotation device that's worn in the pool during recreational swim time. Lack of education between parents and children, and lack of legislature, regulating swim lessons through guidelines and curriculums, mandating pool fences. These things do not exist in many, many places. And the water baby culture, just the way we view water, that it's a fun place for us to be as a family. All these things can lead to and increase the risk of drowning. So I have a question for you. What is swimming? When we tell a child they are swimming, what are they actually doing? Think about it. Are they floating on a float? Are they standing in the water? Are they sitting on the step? Are they bobbing up and down in the water or dunking in their head? Are they jumping in with a flotation device? Is that really swimming? So my question is, swim lessons. What are these lessons teaching? How do these lessons prevent drownings in this age group? As far as water acclimation or parent-child classes, we believe they do not. We understand wanting to make children comfortable with new experiences, but this only reinforces safety and fun in the most dangerous place known for children. The science of Skinner and Erickson can also be seen in parent-child swimming lessons, reinforcing the idea that the water is a fun and safe place that they should be comfortable in. They take in these perceptions and without a parent present will view the pool as a fun and safe place because their parent showed them that it is. We believe the mainstream approach of introducing infants and young children to the water contributes to this dangerous culture. For example, showing unskilled children that water is fun by playing games in the pool, and using bright, interesting, fun, and colorful toys and put them in the pool, thereby making it more attractive and inviting to a young child. Encouraging children with no swimming or survival skills to jump in the water. Having them blow bubbles underwater, which removes the air from their lungs, thus decreasing their natural buoyancy, making it harder for them to resurface and breathe. We have another slide on this in just a moment. The use of floaties so they can paddle around independently in a vertical and head-out position in the water. And then holding them and encouraging them to swim with their heads above the water using a doggy-like paddle stroke so that they don't go under. And the reality is that infants and toddlers are not able to physically hold their head up in the water independently long enough to save themselves. Yet, these methods prevail as the approach of choice by many national organizations, despite a lack of evidence proving they work as a drowning prevention strategy. So what's wrong with blowing bubbles? Well, teaching young children to blow bubbles could teach them that if they get into the water unexpectedly, they should immediately exhale all of their air in their lungs. And when they do this, they lose their buoyancy and are unable to get back up to the surface to breathe. Watch this video demonstration and notice how the swimmer sinks as she expels the air. This is what could happen to a child who unexpectedly jumps in the pool. Teaching breath control should not include any release of air until the child reaches a skill level that it is necessary for technique with strokes. However, many lessons are teaching this skill during the first lesson a child may receive, which we believe is increasing their likelihood of drowning. We believe the solution to this problem is instead choosing a high-quality swimming program. What do we consider high quality? Parents Preventing Childhood Drowning has created a list of qualities that should be included in the lessons. These qualities include recommendations provided by the American Academy of Pediatrics. Generally speaking, these lessons teach a child what to do in the event of an aquatic emergency, such as falling in the pool unexpectedly, falling off a dock, off of a boat, being knocked down by a wave or a current, etc. They teach them how to roll to their backs to a float to be able to breathe, and then how to swim back to the edge of the pool or to land. This can also be taught how to turn and reach for the wall. They teach children breath control, how to hold their breath when the water rises, and how to swim with their eyes open underwater. After they are able to master all of these skills, they are then trained to be able to do them even when fully clothed. This is important because nearly 70% of all drownings in the age group of 1 to 4 happen during a non-swim time. They have clothes, diapers, shoes, all of which could be pulling them down in the water. Lessons need to consider the medical and physical conditions of the child as well. A small student-to-instructor ratio is suggested, with 1-to-1 being optimal. Lessons should be customized to the student. Instructors need to have in-water and in-classroom educational trainings. They need to be first aid and CPR certified. Progress should happen within weeks, not months or years. And these lessons should not include the use of flotation devices, and we'll talk on that in just a moment. Unless they are testing a life jacket that will be used on open water. The most important skill a child should learn is a roll to a back float so they can find air. Children as young as 6 months old can successfully maintain this position in the water for several minutes while being able to breathe and call for help. This gives a child a much higher likelihood of being rescued instead of drowning, as most children who do drown are found within only 5 minutes of last being seen. Judah was found only 2 minutes after Christy last saw him out of the water. Jackson was unknowingly missing from our house for 5 minutes. If they had learned to roll to a float, they might still be here today. Once a child is over the age of 1, they have the capability to learn how to roll to their float and then roll back into a swimming position and propel themselves through the water to get to an exit. This is known as a swim, float, swim sequence. It's the next step in being able to survive a fall into the water. We believe these skills are critical for children to learn first before being taught anything else. These skills can and do save lives. Again, competence in the water must be a priority over confidence. How do I know these lessons would have saved Jackson and many others in a similar situation? Well, I enrolled his younger brother in these lessons at 12 months old. He had learned how to roll to his back to a float in a matter of weeks. This is a video of my son Asher at 14 months old, 4 months younger than Jackson was. Only a few feet from where I found Jackson floating face down in the pool, Asher had learned a life-saving skill that without a doubt in my mind would have saved Jackson's life. So, we've heard from mainly the traditional mainstream organizations that survival swim programs are traumatic, that they're not safe and they're dangerous. They can scar children for life and make them fearful of the water. Now, we want to make sure to say that not every survival swim program is created equal, and they must be vetted for the program as well as the instructor to make sure you're comfortable with their methods. Finding an accredited program is very important, but individual instructors and programs may also be very effective. That being said, we want to show you some video clips from trusted and well-trained survival swim instructors that show what survival swim done well looks like.
Hold on, wait, gotta wait, hold on. Ready, set, go. Perfect. That was awesome. Tell Dad hi.
How you doing? Smile.
You say hi, Dad.
Say cheese.
Hi, Dad. Ready? Here you go. Good job. Good job. Oh, you happy boy? You're so happy today. Good job. Hi, what's your name?
Grayson.
Grayson, how old are you?
3.
What are you going to do for me?
Swim, float, swim.
You're going to swim, float, swim? Okay, let me back up so you don't jump on me. Okay, ready, set, go. Beautiful. That's amazing. Hi, Trevor.
Hi, Trevor.
Are you ready to go? Oh, excuse you. Are you ready to go swim?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Oh, that was so perfect. Can you say hi?
Hi.
Infants and toddlers cry for many reasons. It doesn't mean that we aren't going to do what's best for our children. Even if our child throws a massive fit getting into their car seat, we are still going to strap them in it before we start driving. We are doing what has been researched to be the safest option for our child while driving. We aren't going to give up and hold them as we travel down the road. Kids cry. They cry when you give them medicine, give them the wrong colored cup, you want to take a nice picture, when you brush their hair wrong, when they don't feel like going to dance lessons today. They cry during swim lessons, and not just survival swim lessons. They cry in traditional lessons too. Learning to swim is hard. It's uncomfortable. It's new. They have separation anxiety and fear of strangers. Some don't like water on their face, their ears, or their nose. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they're hungry. Maybe they just don't feel like doing it today, and they want mom and dad to bail them out because it's hard. It is also important to note that not all survival swim lessons are equal. The program and instructors need to be properly vetted, supervised, and approved. Children should never be put in a harmful situation. Children should not be forcefully submerged. It should be gentle and trained to be expected by the child so that they can prepare and learn to hold their breath. While underwater, children should be closely observed, monitoring their breathing and any movements that the instructor may notice to be air hunger in the child. They should not be underwater for more than a few seconds without the help of the instructor, and they should never be left to struggle underwater. Children should not be dropped from high distances or thrown with force into the water. Instructors should maintain their hands on the child until they enter the surface of the water. This is to prevent any head or neck injuries or any trauma from happening. One step further, children should not be held over the water by their extremities and then dropped. They need to be closely monitored for water intake, ensuring they are not swallowing or aspirating water. Children may swallow water in an attempt to not breathe it in while they're submerged. Large amounts of ingested water can lead to electrolyte imbalances. The temperature of the pool and water quality parameters should be closely monitored for safety. You should see positive results of the program in weeks, not months, where the child has learned to self-rescue in the water. Young children learn best with short, frequent lessons. Think about it. You don't teach your baby how to walk once a week for 30 minutes. You work on it in small amounts every day. What is the solution? We need to research swimming lessons. What do the children need to learn in order for us to effectively prevent drowning? We cannot blankly recommend all swimming lessons as they are vastly different. How do children learn these skills best? What skills are effective in teaching children to prevent themselves from drowning? Research this and implement the most effective methods across the board for all swimming lessons. Train everyone. No secret societies of swim lessons. Teach everyone. We are hopeful research will be conducted to prove the efficacy of survival-based lessons as a drowning prevention strategy. At a minimum, swimming lessons should be categorized, recreational versus survival swim. By categorizing the swimming lessons, parents will be able to have realistic expectations of what their child will learn. Parents need to be educated on both categories of lessons when signing up for them, which should include curriculum, the expected outcome, and the average length of time to acquire the skills.
Let's circle back and talk more about puddle jumpers. The problem we are specifically referring to is the overuse of not just puddle jumpers, but any PFD that keeps a child vertical when swimming recreationally in the pool. We had touched on the autonomy of a child having a large head size, as well as a muscle memory aspect of the brain. Now let's discuss our concerns with PFDs in more detail. We are by no means opposed to these devices for open water use. They are necessary there where currents, waves, entanglements, marine life, water temperature, and clarity can all be a factor in creating an uncontrolled environment. We are specifically talking about the overuse of these devices in pools and what that can do to a child. Now let us apply the earlier theories of childhood development to this concern of PFDs during recreational pool swimming time. Physically, children are sensorimotor learners and learn by engaging their environment. Piaget's first stage of cognitive development, children learn through their senses and motor movements. So repeating the motor movements over and over is conditioning your child to think this is how they move their body in the water and this is how they should swim. Back to Skinner's operant conditioning, their positive feedback is the ability to keep their head out of the water. And it's just essentially breathing. Being in an upright vertical position is reinforced. They are essentially trained that this is the position they should be in when they're trying to, quote, swim. Without the device, children try to resort to this position. The vertical position is unattainable by a child less than 4 for most children. Most children are unable to tread water prior to the age of 5. So they are vertical. They are unable to bring their head above the water enough to breathe, and they could quickly lose consciousness from the lack of air and the drowning process begins. For children under 30 pounds, this can happen in as little as 30 seconds. Erikson's stages of development, we have set the child up to believe that they can trust the water alone and then give them the confidence to be in the water alone.
Remember when we talked about muscle memory? This is what causes children who have been in puddle jumpers or other personal flotation devices during swim time in pools to automatically go vertical in the water, whether they are wearing the device or not. The child on the right consistently used puddle jumpers around water. When he entered swim lessons at the age of 4, he believed he could swim on his own. He had a false sense of confidence and was resisting his instructor's guidance. Seeing his refusal to believe her, she, while standing right by him, gently let him try to swim on his own. This is what he looked like when he did. He was inches from the wall and could not get to it. She rescued him quickly, and he went on to unlearn the bad things his puddle jumper taught him and to learn to swim, float, swim successfully. This should be a warning to us about the hidden damage these devices can cause to our young children's brains when used during the wrong times, as a swim aid in a pool and not as a rescue aid in open water. Parents only know what they know. We think we're doing the right thing because there are huge displays at Target and other retailers that promote these devices as learn-to-swim aids. The label states learn-to-swim device, and parents assume that there is data to support this claim. There is none. In fact, the U.S. Coast Guard was contacted about this very issue, and they stated that they only evaluate personal flotation devices for use on a boat. They do not evaluate the use or the unintended effects of use of any device in a pool setting. They do not evaluate their effectiveness as swim aids. But because the statements on the packaging for these devices claim that they are U.S. Coast Guard approved and say that they are learn-to-swim aids, in bold letters right next to each other, parents then believe that the Coast Guard not only evaluates but approves them for such uses. This is clearly not true. These are only a few of the children whose stories we have learned that included the use of a puddle jumper. All of them shown here died of drowning. What can we do? Ditch the floaties. We need to change the way these devices are marketed and shown in the media. They should not be advertised as learn-to-swim devices. They do not teach young children to swim. We believe they teach them how to drown. Instead, hold your non-swimming children in the water, teach them their own buoyancy and what their bodies can and can't do in the water. Don't let them think that they can be in the pool without you by using these devices. Stay within arm's reach. Swim together.
We have recently made strides when it comes to drowning prevention education, but this education missed us and many others who have lost children to drowning. These are the avenues we believe that we can impact drowning rates through education: pediatricians, nonprofit organizations, education in public and private schools, and government entities. Pediatricians need to include drowning prevention education at every age and stage of development. We need to know what's the cause of the majority of drownings in their area, because they can be vastly different from big cities like Houston to a rural town in Colorado. And then our education efforts need to be focused on the wandering toddler during non-swim times. Emphasis on the importance of high-quality self-rescue swim lessons, and education on using multiple layers of protection, because if one fails, the others will be there to protect the child. Thousands of nonprofit organizations have been created to help educate others about the dangers of drowning, many of which have been created in honor of a child who lost their life to drowning. Stop Drowning Now, Judah Brown Project, and Collins Hope are a few examples of nonprofits who have created a curriculum to help children in a classroom setting. There have also been many children's books written to help teach children and adults water safety. This education unfortunately missed our families, but we are certain their efforts from these organizations have helped educate others to prevent drownings. So nonprofits and all you advocates out there, don't give up.
Parents need to know and understand the layers of protection. They need to understand that using just one layer will not be able to keep their children completely safe. We like to use the Swiss cheese scenario when discussing it. Each layer of protection, like each slice of Swiss cheese, has holes or ways the layer could fail. But if you start stacking the layers together, they cover up the holes, making it much less likely for a child to drown. Layers can also fail, which leads us to discuss what holes or barriers can occur even when the layer exists. Inattention blindness and lapses in supervision are the holes in the layer of supervision. Barriers like pool safety fences can be left open or alarms not turned on. These are the holes in the barriers layer. Not all swim lessons teach your child to survive a fall into the water. That is the hole in the swim lessons layer. A parent can panic if they find their child in the water and be unable to perform CPR as a result. That is the hole on that layer. Parents need to see the holes so that they can understand why the layers must be used together to give the best chance of preventing a drowning. Pool fences need to be mandatory in homes with pools. At a minimum, there needs to be laws across the nation mandating multiple layers of protection. Door alarm, pool surface alarm, pool net, pool fence, multiple locks on doors, security systems, etc. Many states already have these laws in place, and they have prevented countless injuries from drowning. We will never know how many lives these laws have saved because they are always working.
Mitchell Chang lost his life at a swim school during a special event. He died because of a dangerous environment created by improper staffing, lack of adequate safety standards, poor implementation of what little standards were in place, and inadequately trained employees. The swim school stated 2 lifeguards would be present that night. There were informational flyers to parents with the word lifeguards on them. The swim school where Mitchell died was never able to produce any documentation that they were employed as a lifeguard position. They instead trained staff as water watchers. By misrepresenting training, certifications, and safety standards, Mitchell's parents were denied accurate information that was needed to make an informed and educated decision on the swim school. After Mitchell's death, his parents found out that a highly profitable swim school industry is not regulated in Texas. There's no regulatory agency. There's no oversight that verifies certification and credentialing. There's no minimum safety standards regarding student ratios or lifeguards. There's no database tracking children's injuries sustained at swim schools or parent complaints. These are all things that are in place in other organizations. Many for-profit swim schools use similar curriculums, in-house employee certification programs, and safety standards as this swim school that Mitchell went to. The Chang family is concerned that the lack of consequences and regulations will only allow for more states' children to be unknowingly placed in these dangerous environments, and no parent should ever feel the devastation of their child dying due to the actions of a swim school. This family is currently working on Mitchell's bill in Texas, which includes licensing and regulation of swim operators and sets safety standards for early childhood group swimming lessons in Texas, certification requirements, CPR, and having an AED on site. So, also a case of no regulations and a lack of accountability. Last summer, 4-year-old Izzy Scott went to his second swim lesson. He never made it out of the pool. He was in a class of 10 children ranging in age and skill level in a backyard pool with one instructor. His mother was waiting in her car, not able to watch the class as the instructor thought it would be more beneficial to his learning if he wasn't distracted by her presence. His body was found at the bottom of the pool minutes after the lesson had ended. Despite CPR efforts, Izzy did not survive. The instructor did not take any accountability for his drowning, and the county sheriff's office declined to pursue charges in the case. It took the family 6 months for justice to be served, for the instructor to be charged with involuntary manslaughter. Though she did not intentionally let this child drown, she also did not do enough to ensure his safety. At this time, she has yet to apologize to the Scott family.
With everything discussed in our presentation being the young child's experience, is it any wonder why children return to the pool alone? We take pride in our children who love the water. We encourage them to think it is safe, to feel comfortable there, to have fun in it. Our attitudes and how we view water with our children directly impact the amount of young child drownings. Do we view it as a playground, as a babysitter on a hot day so that you can sit and relax while the kids get out their energy? A place to socialize with friends, party, and drink alcohol? Is this how we should be viewing the #1 killer of our kids? We don't stand in a busy parking lot and encourage our toddlers to run, jump, and play. We hold their hands. We don't encourage our toddlers to be comfortable around guns. We lock them up and make sure kids know that they are dangerous. We teach children not to touch the stove or play with fire because they will get burned. The problem with water is that we have been conditioned to believe that it is safe, and we pass that belief on to our children.
We shouldn't be making our children comfortable in the water until they have the skills and ability to self-rescue to prevent drowning.
How do we solve this one? We need to continue to push forward, working together to educate the community with the same clear and concise message. Children are not safe in the water, ever. If they are trained with survival rescue skills, they have a better chance of survival. If there is a fence enclosing their pool, they have a better chance of survival. Children don't drown just because parents were not watching them. Layers of protection need to work together to keep the children as safe as possible. Drowning can happen to anyone. It does not discriminate. Celebrities who have recently experienced this loss are speaking up and sharing to the world how these drownings are happening. Since they are in the public eye, they are opening themselves up for judgment, but in doing so, they are saving lives by educating others so people can learn how to prevent this tragedy from happening to them. All of us are here to do the same thing, day in and day out. We continue to break the stigma that drowning only happens to bad and neglectful people by you speaking out. You all are helping to save lives, and we thank you so much for all of your efforts.
If you take anything away from this lecture, we hope it includes the following. Take a hard look at how you treat the water around children, and think to yourself, could this create an unsafe environment?
Safety first. Teach competence before confidence, and don't teach a child to jump into the pool without first teaching them a rescue float.
Put as many layers of protection between the child and the water as possible.
And avoid the use of flotation devices during recreational swim times in the pool. Thank you all for taking the time to watch our presentation.
We hope we succeeded in opening your eyes to the hidden danger that threatens our young children.
Please self-reflect and make changes if needed.
You could be the difference.